So now I make two and give one to you till your luck break through. Break bread like we did in grade school. I stay grateful for every plateful. Sit at my table, get some great food. When you make choices, they also make you. Share the wealth beyond yourself and stay cool. I stay grateful for every yeah, he needed dough, so he needed dough and made bread, but his customers didn't need it dough. They had other places to go where they didn't have to see sad faces while taking a stroll.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Moto. We're in the bunker, the Oklahoma Taxpayers Unite Studios. I've got a very special guest in today. This is Christopher Ledbetter. And before we get into your story about what's been going on out in McLoud with your family and the police department there, I think it's important maybe to just give the audience a chance to kind of get to know you. So, Christopher Ledbetter, former Marine. Tell us about some of your service, some of your life, what you do here. You work here in Oklahoma City.
Okay.
Tell us about you as a person before we put this in context of the events that are actually taking place.
Okay. Well, short bio of me. I was raised here in McLoud, Oklahoma my whole life. Graduated from McLoud High School. After that I joined the Marines. Did 4 years in them. Got out in 2015. Just did artillery with them. I did on one of the MU deployments, the Marine Expeditionary Unit, where you go on the ships, and go around the world and stuff. And that was about it. Not much. Just went to a bunch of different countries.
So what year did you go into the Marine Corps?
2011.
2011 to 2015.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just a driver and a artillery cannon crewman and all that.
Okay, so whenever you came home, you finished up your service with the Marine Corps. What did you start doing after that, or did you have any big plans? Was there something that you had that you left and you came back to?
I actually planned right before I was even getting out of the Marines. I contacted people because we were seeing the genocide was going on, and then we weren't deploying anybody to it. And at that time, I was just like, I didn't know all the corruption in the high levels of government, and the CIA stuff. I just seen it in movies, So I was like, I had volunteered to go over with the Kurdish forces, just as an unpaid volunteer, a civilian medical and combat volunteer to go fight ISIS. So in 2016, I was over there most all of that year with them.
Connected.
And then I came back here, right at like Christmas or whatever, 2017, basically. I got.
So in 2016, you were with Kurdish forces.
Yes.
In your capacity as a private civilian.
Yeah, just as a volunteer. Like, there's even a documentary of the medical unit we had there. I'm not in it. I got some real good friends in it, but it's called The Volunteers. It's on YouTube now. You can watch it. This big red cross on it. You can watch the medical unit there, and it's pretty intense even after they cut a lot of footage, and that's just the medical unit. So
we're gonna have to talk about that, maybe even in a whole nother. Maybe if I have you come back sometime, we'll have to get to.
Yeah, that's what I said. I was like, I could
stuff.
talk for days on some crazy stuff.
I did want to ask you though, whenever you were in the Marine Corps, 2011 and 2015, where were you, or what places were you during that time?
I was stationed in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, and then when we went to the MU, stopped off in Africa, Jordan, Qatar. I think we were even in Israel for reef supply or something, but so just a tiny bit. But Qatar, where else?
So all over in the Middle East.
Yeah, just basically Horn of Africa type area.
And then
Mediterranean.
So after 2016, when you were with the Kurdish forces, that's when you were in Syria and Iraq. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, and were you primarily in Syria or were you primarily in Iraq?
I was in Syria, but I was primarily in Sinjar Mountain, or Shingal, they call it there, where the Yazidi genocide was there. So that's the place I was at for most of the time I was there.
Okay, all right. So again, that's a trail that we could go
Iraq,
down.
Yeah.
We could go down that. We could go down that trail for a very, very long time. But that gives you an idea of where Chris has been since 2011. Now we come to present day, and you're working here, making an honest living in Oklahoma City. You live out in McLoud on some private property there that's out just past the Lincoln County.
Yeah, it's right past the Canadian River after you pass out, then down there Hazeldale Road, basically, that leads past all those farms. It's off of there.
Okay.
Right on the edge of where it crosses into Lincoln County from Potawatomi.
Okay, so so technically you guys are, if you were going to call your county sheriff, you'd be calling the Pot County Sheriff.
It'd be Lincoln County.
Oh, it'd be Lincoln
because we're
County.
right
Okay.
in the inside edge, which is why McLoud was out of jurisdiction a lot of times, that they were out there until when they weren't, when they were called on us when we were just there in the first place, not on from some outside area. Like the first time they tried to raid us was all out of jurisdiction.
Okay, so you guys can hear we're getting into what we have Chris in to talk about today, which is a series of incidences that have occurred between the McLoud police officers, or formerly McLoud police officers, and you and your family and a group of patriots that you guys have organized out there. So the first encounter, as I understand it, there was a McLoud police officer that lived outside of his jurisdiction as an officer for McLoud, but he did have a take-home vehicle, or he took home one of the police department's pickup trucks. Is that right?
Yes. To my knowledge, they all take home their vehicles. Like the other guy who was accused of the pedophile charges, it's like he takes his vehicle home to his house too, right there in McLoud. But this guy, he lives out there. It's not even his house. It's his girlfriend. So he basically moved in there when he started dating this girl that lives about 20 feet from my parents on the other side of the fence from them. So it's very close there, which my sister lives across from them, and I lived, a few miles away.
Right.
All in McLoud, they're pretty close. So.
And all kind of down the same track, I'm gathering.
Yes, they're all on the end of that same road.
Okay.
They have rent houses and stuff, so it's at the dead end of a road, basically.
Okay, and so the initial incident occurred whenever that Officer Jones, former officer, I understand he has been terminated.
To my knowledge, he was. We don't know if he's still on, their paid vacation or paid severance pay, or if he's been hired back. We can't confirm any of that because they, there's no open information hardly anymore, and then to request it, you got to go through them. So it's like, we have no way of knowing for sure.
Right. But we do know for sure he was out of jurisdiction as a McLoud police officer, and he used the vehicle, the sirens and the lights to pull over or to detain
my
your sister on your own property.
On a private road while he was out of uniform, out of jurisdiction, in a McLoud police truck, while also impersonating the chief of police and a sergeant. So he said two different ranks. He said he was the chief and that he was a sergeant when he started screaming at them saying, I can do whatever I want.
Okay. And so at the time it's Officer Jones.
Yes.
And he claimed to be the chief of police. And who's the chief of police out there in McLoud?
Wesley Elliott.
Okay, so Chief Elliott, I guess, is who he was claiming to be.
Yeah.
Elliott. Okay. Now, did you witness the event taking place, or did your sister call you? Did she already know that the officers were out of their jurisdiction? And
they probably didn't even know that much. They were just cooperating because he just pulled her over to say, hey, what are you doing here? Who are you? Why do you, you look suspicious. Where do you live? Where do you live? That whole thing, with just for no reason whatsoever. And then my mother came down the road. And she was asking him, she's like, hey, what's going on here? And
did she see it happening? Or
she did. My mother did. So that's why because she was just happened to be coming out at the same time my sister was coming in down this long dirt road. So, and she asked him, hey, what's going on here? And he said, oh, they just look suspicious. Where does she live? And she told him she lives right across from me. She's grown up in McLoud her whole life, And he said, oh, okay, well, they just look suspicious and everything. And she's like, okay, well, that's kind of weird, and you're out of uniform in a sweatshirt. But then she said, by the way, since I see you dumping trash in that trash can, the East Side Waste Disposal, that's private, she's like, that's ours. You can't do that. That's committing a crime. And that's when he blew up and said he can do whatever he wants. He can arrest anybody that he wants for using whatever. All of this stuff.
Now, so was it after that he claimed to be the chief of police and
Yes,
stuff?
that's when he started going into the power mode where he was just screaming at my mom and my stepfather, and that's when they called me miles down the road, just sitting down trying to play a video game, probably looking like this, all dirty after work.
Right.
Just about to play a video game, and I got a call. There's somebody out of uniform in a McLoud police vehicle, and we'd had horrible problems with them before, pulling weapons on us and everything for anyone having a weapon, like me running down a road with a pistol and everything to disarm me for past that point. So we finally had enough of it. They called me and they said, this guy is out of uniform. We don't even know, they don't even know if he's a cop, he's somebody screaming at them out of nowhere. And I said, oh, okay, well, I'm coming. Threw on my combat rig, my rifle, rolled down the road, stopped right behind him, parked the vehicle in the road and got out. He was still sitting up there right next to them on the road. And I went up there and I said, what's the problem? And that's all I said. I said, what's the problem? What's the problem? Twice. That's my exact words. And then he just said, bye, and drove off real quick. Wouldn't even say it. That's why I never even saw the man's face before this, because I'd never seen him. I knew that there was a guy there on the road, and I was like, hey, this is going to be trouble probably someday. And, I've never seen his face till we had the court date, because he just drove away, ran away, and immediately started yelling on his cell phone, hey, there's someone here with a rifle.
Now, you just mentioned a court date. A court date for what?
We went to court after that whole thing, and we testified with 5 witnesses, video evidence against him and his girlfriend there, and they were proven to be...
So you guys filed a lawsuit, or it was pursuant to a ticket that got written, or what? It
was filing for a restraining order against them.
Ah, okay.
Which would mean he would have to get kicked out of the house that's not even his. Right. He lives with his girlfriend there that he beats, but we can't do anything about that either. Cause she was
but it was the restraining order that you guys filed specific to this officer after that incident that landed you in court. Now, just to give everybody an idea of the time frame, because this has been going on for months. This was back in February. Yes, exactly.
When they were disarming me before that was since 2017, since I moved back to this country, basically, and moved home.
So by the time you made it to court to file a restraining order, is that also in February, or was that March timeframe?
It might have been in March. I know it was, a week or two after
somewhere
that.
In the transition.
It was a few weeks, because it takes a while for them. Now,
the reason that I want to kind of paint a clear picture of the months as we go through this is so that as the raids happen and you guys go to the police station, I want people to be able to build the perception in their minds. This was not a rash action. This was not
very rash by them,
Yeah, but on your end, this was not an impulsive thing. This was something that you guys endured for months on end before taking any type of action or trying to reach out and find some other avenue besides just local jurisdiction and the county sheriff.
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. So March comes around and you guys have the protection order and everything. Did the police...
They denied it in court. The court, the judge said that these are actual crimes, would be felonies to us. And she said, oh, where did you go to get your police cleat training at? Oh, that's cool. And then at the end of it, she said, hey, well, don't do it again or we may get back in here. And this is wrong and you knew you were out of your jurisdiction and you're on a private road. You have no business doing that. So... don't do it. And then she said, you, by the way, having weapons and these automatic weapons in front of police officers was her exact words. Y'all are going to get somebody killed. And then threw it out.
That's what I was going to ask you was whether or not the police department or the DA or the judge defended the officer.
Yes.
Okay, so all of that happened. Now, but something did happen because after that, there's officers that aren't at the police department anymore, and there's other reasons for that. Mm-hmm. So as you guys, I guess, became a public figure maybe for resistance against this corrupt police department, it sounds like some of your neighbors and other concerned citizens started to get a hold of you with their issues that they were having with the same officers or department.
Yes, and that was also happening well before this. We just luckily happened to be very well prepared before this even happened, because like I said, we were getting disarmed, all this before it went to the crazy level of, hey, we're calling in a whole police department on you. because of one lie, and they did it on a personal cell phone. So yeah, we had people training up before this. I had groups of guys, that I go shoot with. We trained together, all of that, and it has just became more then. Yeah.
So we keep, again, you're very forward in this timeline. We're trying to catch everyone up.
Yes.
So what you just mentioned there about cops trying to, on their personal cell phones, coordinate some type of arrest or perhaps surveillance on you, whatever you might want to call it. Yeah. Now that's after you guys go to court for the protection order, I assume.
No,
right?
that's the first raid with him, Jones. He called yelling over his personal cell phone after he just drove off when I said, "What's the problem?" showing up.
Oh, so that was that same day.
Yes, that's just the first day he called, and he said, "There's a man here with a rifle." And he said he's in BDUs. I was in regular work pants. He said BDUs because I had body armor on.
Yeah, or an LBD.
They don't
or
know what it's called.
Yeah.
They're police, but yeah, he said there's a man here threatening to shoot me. He said he's going to shoot me. And he called it over his personal cell phone, then they called everybody else over the radios. That's why this incident and that it just went on all night.
Okay,
that's why that incident is with Oklahoma Highway Patrol.
He made the call over his cell phone.
Yes.
Then it hit the radio.
Then he went in his house and hid the rest of the night when all the other officers came in and they were wondering,
where he's at. Okay, so he made the phone call on his cell phone.
Yes.
Then whoever he called on the cell phone
radioed all the other officers to come out there.
So then the radio call goes out, and then you guys are subsequently. There's a subsequent attempt to raid you guys.
An actual attempt to raid. Yeah, they're staging vehicles on the outside of the roads while not going up it, walking people up through the woods of people's properties. They cut the back fence to our property to try to get through there. It's all in the dark, and they're just walking through multiple people's properties that run up the side of this road that goes all the way back to us.
Now, and I saw some footage of that, and I saw some footage of you yelling at people out in the distance or the darkness, and they, if I'm not mistaken, there's a point at which they're responding, right? They're yelling back at you from the...
That was the second raid. The first one was you're talking about the videos of the second
The second
time.
raid. Okay, all right. So I do want to talk about that one. Let's finish up on the first raid, though. So the first raid is kind of like they all come out there, and they can't find the officer that was...
This was because I got my family out because nobody knew what was happening. So we were on the phone with Tribe saying, hey, the tribal police saying, hey, they're trying to... And the tribal police are saying... We didn't get a call for this, or we would have known. And that's when we knew, they didn't call dispatch, which was kind of like, I'm kind of relieved in a way because I don't see any SWAT teams showing up yet. But then in another way, it's like, now I just realized this was a mob
What's
hit.
happening, yes.
Now I just realized
this
is an actual mob hit, too.
Right. Or maybe not necessarily a mob hit, but... maybe even just good old boys not realizing how good old boy they're being.
It's still a mob hit because after they get out there, they know they're out of jurisdiction and they're still breaking the law, through people.
I don't want people to paint your perception of that, though, as like, there's some high-power Sicilian organized crime unit. No, 9 or 10 guys that habitually do things incorrectly and have been doing it that way for many years. Which at
this police department, it basically would be true, once you see the extra crimes that go along with it, but yeah.
Right, okay. So the first raid ends at what point? Once they realize that officer's not there and they can't verify any of the details, or once it gets too late at night?
It was when the Kickapoo police came out.
Okay.
So the tribe came out when they didn't get a call of it or nothing, and they're like, well, yeah, McLoud doesn't have a dispatch. They never have. And it's like, yeah, they kind of do that on purpose too, type of deal. But it was confirmed not, because this is on Oklahoma Highway Patrol as one of their training
So this
forces.
is Kickapoo tribal police that come out?
Yes, they came out. And they got there, and at the end it was like them and other guys from different agency. I didn't know if it was McLoud still or who, or if it was the county, because there was like 15 of them at the end, and whoever all was walking through the woods, a lot of them disappeared, just kind of slinkied back to their cars like, oh yeah, we weren't here type of deal, like they did the second time. Kind of they just left out of nowhere, and they're like, When they're saying that there's this horrible crime and that they're going to come and you should surrender and they're going to arrest you or kill you, and then they just like, oh yeah, we're leaving tonight. Like nothing even happened because obviously no violence was committed.
Well, and the tribal police were there making record of everything at that point too.
Yes.
So the Kickapoo police came specifically because you said there's people here. They didn't get a call, which would have been like a coordination step or a de-escalation step.
Know.
Whenever it would have went through dispatch.
Which when the second time it happened, the Kickapoo was out there. They all knew because I was actually evading a police officer illegally trying to, which is proven later. So of course you can see the difference when they're actually calling.
So that's a good point, I think, to transition then to the second raid. Now are there any events that took place between the first raid and the second incident? Is there anything that like you guys exposing the pedophile stuff or getting in contact with the chief or anything? Is there anything substantive that happened between raid number 1 and raid number 2?
Obviously the court date, which we already went over, but the next day, my mother went into the station with the chief there, and that's when she took the audio video. She let him know that she was taking an audio recording with him, and that's where he admits to, like, it starts out even with him saying, oh, I think that Chris should be arrested, probably I would agree with officers arresting him if he's got that attitude. So he basically said you can arrest people for just because you don't like them. Right. Started off with that, a crime right there.
But this is the day after the first raid your mom went in?
They came out and got that guy's police truck and got it out of there.
So they took his
they actually took his truck because they knew that the whole thing got stood down, basically. So they're like, oh, we have to go, do damage control. And, but yeah, she got the audio recorded in, and that's where he admitted to, that's because the girl that is in it, that was making the complaint about it and apparently have made multiple complaints. It's just everybody's scared to make more, and that's why people stopped coming out. That's how we figured this out. On top of that is that the girl lives right next to us. She's one of our renters' daughters.
Okay, again, you're forward in the timeline.
Yeah.
So
No, this is at the same time. She's interviewing with him. That's how we figure out about it. He admits, even while he knows he's being recorded, to this other officer, Mackie Keener, one of the school resource officers. She just went through the whole thing with him, and then she's like, oh yeah, and about our renter's daughter, can I hear something about that? And that's when it got creepy.
Wait, so he volunteered, the police chief volunteered the information about the school resource officer having issues with minors in the McLoud school system.
And he made it like it was a mistake, but even if it's a mistake, as they always say, a mistake is not against the law. So
your mom knew what she was asking about, though, at that time, too?
Yes, because she knows the little girl. She lives right by us.
Okay, so I guess your mom was just, while she was there, was like everything on blast. What's going on here?
At the end, it's like 20 minutes into the video, that's where it got creepy, because he's like, oh, no, yeah, he's my good God-fearing friend, and he was just showing pictures of Anna Nicole Smith that he had saved on his phone, subsequently saved to his phone, that he didn't know was a porn star, while also telling the girl that she looked beautiful, so beautiful, and would make such a great actress someday, repeatedly. And then when he got caught, he said he was sorry. After this, more girls came out to us and saying that he was doing the same thing after he got caught.
Texting these girls. Texting them.
No, he's taking out his actual phone with photos of Anna Nicole Smith
and talking
on it,
to them,
showing them the picture and saying, "You look just like her. You make such a great actress."
So there's someday.
She's not a movie star. Anna Nicole Smith is a '90s porn star. That's all she did was
porn. Right. So, but there's no digital communiques, Facebook messages, or text messages between...
Not that we know, but that's what he admitted while knowing he was being recorded, which is still pedophile, child solicitation, criminal charge.
And was obviously reason enough for the school board to fire all of the McLoud PD school resource officers and replace them with a private firm.
Yeah, well, there's more coming out. This is just recently that I've heard.
Yeah, so we've gone from February now. We're into March. So the raid and the initial recording of the police chief admitting to the inappropriate stuff happening between. What'd you say his name was?
Mackie Keener.
Mackie Keener. Yeah. Okay, and one of the students. So that's in February. Now in March, you guys go to court, obviously, for the restraining order. it gets
they turn it away,
denied. Yeah. So now the second raid is after that?
Yeah, and it basically...
Is it still March or are we in April yet?
This was just recently. What was this
May?
Last week.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So the end of May.
Yeah, this was like the week before this last week.
Okay. This is the second raid. End of May.
Yeah, this was very recent for me.
So now the raid didn't start as a raid, though. The raid started as you noticed coming home from work or after you stopped, once you got back into town after work, that there were officers hovering around waiting for you.
Yeah, not even in McLoud. See, I go to work in the city every day because I do construction. So I came home, looking dirty in a little white work truck. And I stopped there at the it's either the Sinclair or the Conoco. It's across from the Loves.
We don't have to get too specific on the internet.
It's across from the Loves right off I-40 on McLoud Road. And there's a guy standing there.
I know you're not worried about it.
He's standing there outside of his truck, the McLoud police truck, and he's just standing there talking to another person in a car. And he's just looking at me the whole time. I filled up gas, went inside, got me an energy drink and a candy bar. Came out, he's still standing there just looking at me intently. I'm looking right back at him, and I'm like, okay. And because I knew they'd been weird to me ever since, but I've just tried to live my life normal again, go to work, keep trying to push the envelope and see if anybody would take the evidence. No one was. The news all rejected it. So then I start driving back down McLoud Road to go home. And he immediately whips out without lights on, like he was in such a hurry, he didn't even turn his lights on, even though it was night. Gets right on my bumper, then he turns his lights on. And he's just tailgating me. And I drive everywhere the speed limit all the time, I really drive like an old lady.
Can't give him any excuses.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because at this point it's like life or death for me.
Yeah.
Because they're hunting me. So even before then, I always just drive pretty normal. So I'm driving down McLoud Road. He's tailgating me. So I switch lanes to the slow lane back over. He switches lanes to the slow lane right on me again. I switch lanes back over to the fast lane to try to let him go past whatever this guy's doing because he's, close to me. And he switches lanes yet again. Not using any of his blinkers, by the way. Even though they said later that it was for supposedly me having a tail light out.
And you know that you don't have a tail light out, and you know that you're not doing anything wrong.
Exactly.
So you know that something is surely amiss.
As usual, the only one doing any crimes is them. But when I get over the hill into McLoud, that's when he flashes lights. As soon as we got into McLoud, he waited all the way till I got in McLoud so that it would be their jurisdiction.
Right.
So we were in their jurisdiction, turns his lights on, and I'm like, no, not a chance in hell. I'm going 35 in the 45 coming over the hill. I threw my helmet cam on and started recording, and I just drove the speed limit straight home.
All the way back.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, we got to take a short break real quick because we've been going for a cool minute, but we'll be right back again. This is Let the People Decide. I'm Moto. This is Chris Ledbetter. We're at the bunker, the Oklahoma Taxpayers Unite Studios. We'll be right back.
He was baking some rolls, making the most of his time, knowing he was getting real close to the line. In a cash crunch, it would be his last month, unless he got a miracle and a fast one. But he saw the people out in the rain, dealing with a mountain of pain. Figured he'd go out with a bang. He made as much good bread as a baker could. Meanwhile, the word spread through the neighborhood. People showed up smiling to volunteer. He said, I'll do what I can while I'm here. Till this place is vacant, let's keep baking. They spread his bread plus his reputation. Food homemade with love the folks tasted. When he ran out of dough, they donated. It kept growing, took off like a rocket. He switched from out of pocket to non-profit. Now donations were tax deductible, and his bread was packing trucks full. The months flew. I guess what comes around goes around, cause the bakery never closed down. I stay grateful for every plateful. Used to make dues, and now I make two and give one to you. Till your luck break through. Break bread like we did in grade school. I stay grateful for
Hello, basket of deplorables, ladies, gentlemen, those who are undecided. Todd Tucker back at the bunker, where I belong. And we want you to join us here at OTUmedia. Become a patron, a Patreon member. If you want true conservative messaging and not the same old corporate filtered news of Oklahoma, this is the place to be. Become a supporter, a soldier, a sergeant, a co-producer, even a sponsor. True conservatism lives here at OTU Media. Go to patreon.com/OTU Media, patreon.com/OTU Media. This is where conservatism lives, and the fight is just beginning.
Introducing all new, safe, natural relief. A cannabinoid-rich, clarity and focus formula with 17 essential supplements. When it matters most, you've got a job to do. Anxiety isn't an option. Programmed to keep you moving. A product exclusively manufactured for Active Duty RX by Cantech Labs.
Every plate full. Sit at my table, get some great food. When you make choices, they also make you. Share the wealth beyond yourself and stay cool. Used to make do, so now I make two and give one to you. Till your luck break through. Break bread like we did in grade school. I stay grateful for every plateful. Sit at my table, get some great food. When you make choices, they also make you. Share the wealth beyond yourself and stay cool. I stay grateful. Every plateful. I stay grateful.
Hey guys, welcome back. We're at the bunker. Hashtag OTU Media. I'm Moto. I'm your host for this segment. We've got Chris Ledbetter in from out in McLoud. We were just going through an absolutely fascinating story about this entanglement that you have with McLoud PD. And when we went out for break, we had just pulled back into McLoud. We had just gotten back into the jurisdiction of McLoud PD. And one of the McLoud police officers that had been tailing you since petrol station.
That's when he finally turned on the lights.
Yes, lit you up. And so at this point, you know that you're not breaking any laws. You got your helmet cam on, recording your speed. You know that they're actively looking.
Yeah, even if I did have something like a minor tail light out at this point when they've been hunting me, trying to kill me or get whatever other charge, I'm not stopping. You know, it's like any normal person who's have their family threatened to be killed. You know, the other guy threatened to burn their house down. He threatened to kill my stepbrother out there. All kinds of stuff. And then the rest of them followed through with it and kept following us.
Yeah.
So, not. You know, it's like, just leave me alone. If I'm not hurting somebody, stay away from me at this point.
Yeah.
You know, because it's not going to come down to me doing anything other than defending myself.
Now, again, though, fortunately, you weren't the only one defending yourself. You have a group of people. You have a QRF, a quick reaction force.
Yes, very large and growing all across Oklahoma. And
nice.
We have. That's the way. When you do a lot of stuff, you get contacts everywhere. Like the more we do, we get friends with other people.
Yep.
You know, the more people you help, you get friends in low and high places
like
that are willing to help you.
Rolling down a mountain.
You know, and it's like we worked on that for years before all of this was happening because we saw bad stuff coming. And we started getting prepared with the ex-military guys and training other civilians. And it was like, oh, good thing we did.
Now, the very first thing that someone, especially on the other side of the political spectrum from this, is going to try to do is they're going to try to paint you and your boys as right-wing, radical,
domestic terrorists,
ethno-elitist, white supremacist, this, that, the other. Like you guys are getting ready to go blow up the Murrah building or something like that. So that's why I wanted to take that first segment and let people get to know you.
Yeah.
You know, you're a veteran. We didn't sign up to go. Chris and I are both Marine Corps veterans. We didn't sign up to go and fight for anybody of a specific color or a specific creed or from any specific cities or red states or blue states or anything like that. Just for a second, tell me a few things about some of the other guys that you do have with you, because you did say that they're mostly prior service. What are they what are they like? What are your guys like? Are they community guys? Are they involved in? Are they sports coaches? Are they other? Are they other targets of the state or the police department? What is this group of guys that you've cobbled together out there?
Well, obviously, the first part, most of them are a lot of, not all of them, they either see it and have empathy for it, or they're people who have had, huge parts of their lives messed up by the government in really horrible ways, or they're just, just seeing it and willing to do something about it at this point, instead of just passing it along to their kids like everybody else has done for the last 200 years. So, but other than that, it's kind of like what you would think, mostly, country or city people from all across Oklahoma that they just believe in peaceful freedoms. That's the two things they were about. Like, they all identify as different things, like constitutionalists, small, all of that is just violence on peaceful freedom is always terrorism, and we'll always defend it. 100% of peaceful freedoms, even if we don't agree with it or do it ourselves, if someone's using violence on it, we will defend that with our lives. And secondly, that we're fine with paying taxes and everything as long as it's not forced. Because the definition of forced taxation is if they start doing something wrong and I want to say, no, I have a problem with this now.
Yeah, I don't want my tax money going to Planned Parenthood. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. But you have, just like I don't want my tax money going to the American arms and stuff over there that ISIS had that I saw, But it's like, so if I have that problem with that, I can't change them through that because they still send men with guns bought by those same taxes. Definition of slavery still, no matter what pretty word you want to call it, just like when the law is legal, terrorism is legal, it still doesn't make it not terrorism.
Yeah.
If it's a law that is actually that by definition, it's still that, morality is not legality. So that's everything they agree with in a nutshell. Besides that, they're like construction workers, regular people, mechanics, all those different types of trades usually.
Let me ask you about it, since we're talking about, before we get on to the second raid, which is a harrowing story, let me tell you. Let me ask you, because in current events right now, we're watching, and you and I both participated in these demonstrations over the weekend too, the Black Lives Matter marches. Now, President Trump and many people are talking about now sending the military in to control these protests. Yeah, they have in some places.
Active duties going into D.C., and Minnesota.
So how do we feel about that as sons of liberty, as patriots, as freedom fighters? Is it our job to stand between the military and these demonstrators, these protesters, who sometimes I disagree with? On this very rare occasion with George Floyd, I agreed with. Most of the time, I think it's totally BS. It's totally mainstream race baiting narratives.
Yeah, it's slowly starting to change, but then you got to look at, it's like the same thing they look at all of us as type of one deal. I'm seeing so many, like I said, when we went to Tulsa, completely united, and we were there all, white people, girls, and then we had Black Panthers who were like ex-75th Ranger Regiment with us, carrying AKs and stuff too. And they were giving us hugs and everything, and we were all united. And the police,
so you guys the
police were very aggressive against us.
Yeah,
because they were very afraid of that. We were.
So you guys aren't waiting for the military to show. You're already out there with these.
No, there's no one looting. Where people are armed, no one is looting.
And you are.
And the police isn't arresting people either.
Yeah. So actually, that's an interesting point. I was about to say you're with the demonstrators, but actually you're there with both. Truthfully, you're there with the demonstrators and you're there with law enforcement, because you're not there to see anyone loot or take life.
Yeah, but technically I'm not with law enforcement because they ain't protecting people from looting.
Exactly.
We are the only ones doing that.
Kind of like I was the only one here Sunday in Oklahoma City where I happened to be.
And what did they do? They arrested you for it.
I was not with the cops. I was actually with the demonstrators, but because I was wearing my Trump hat, I don't take my Trump hats off for anyone. I wear it everywhere. I'm constantly representing for my president because he's constantly working for me. Unfortunately, that is why I have to be armed everywhere that I go, though, is because you can see an instance like that where you get mobbed by several people just because you're exercising your free speech while they exercise their free speech. But so again, anybody that would want to paint you guys, this militia, as some type of radical right-wing Ku Klux combobulation, you guys were out there with Black Panthers this weekend provide medical support. And,
yeah, like I said, all my guys they believe in, you know, defending peaceful freedoms from violence, and we don't support, you know, we don't have any political party, you know.
Right.
So it's like we go out, we have the Sons of Liberty flag. Sometimes we'll take it with us, but that's it, you know. So there's no when you make it as simple as that, they're still going to, you know, because they're going to be afraid of you. But even like say when we went in that situation, OKC, it got more tense, and there was people who didn't. We were just like, we can't stand up for you if you don't want us to. You know, we're definitely here to make sure. Basically said, we're here as a QRF. Then, if the police start shooting you, we will fight, since you won't fight for yourselves, type of deal. And no one's looting around us either, obviously.
Right.
And we just stood back when it got that tense till the end of the night, and then we still went in with the last ones to go. And
now,
check.
there was a moment you were describing for me that I found very entertaining. I think the audience might too. At a point late in the night at which the demonstrators who are uneasy about, well, I find it funny that the cops knew immediately that they were not for you. They didn't want you there at all. But the demonstrators were uneasy until a certain point late in the night, whenever you guys started donning gas masks and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And they asked you to designate yourselves even so that they would know. Tell us what happened with that.
Basically, I mean, a lot of them, they get it already. They're just like, it's still a half and half. Even in Oklahoma City, it was like 50% at the beginning. So that's still, you know, it's just you have to stay back from the 50.
Yeah, what is
you know,
this?
and the other 50% is like either uneasy, and then there's like a few just onesies and twosies that are like, oh fuck, you know, but that's the onesies and twosies. So even then, it's come a long way of people finally becoming self-aware.
Yeah.
And that's in Oklahoma City.
Like,
but by the end of the night, with the
always
last, 5,000 were gone, we went up to the line and said, hey, News 9, you okay? Nobody's wounded. We're like, okay, we're getting out of here. You know, you don't get arrested by the police either. And I was like, we won't let you. But then we go out to the main roads where everybody's cars parked, and we're just escorting people in arms, wiping tear gas out of people's eyes that's just running out of alleyways. I guess they're trying to get out of there too, and they're ambushing them from behind. We had guys showing us they got shot with the shotguns and 40 mics in their back.
Yeah.
Huge black and blue things. So they were trying to just get out of there even, and they're getting shot in the back, tear gassed, everything. And we were like, here, take everybody, don't run. Walk with us. And we had a good group with us till they all started scattering, some of them, but then we were helping the other ones, just wiping their faces out with water, milk, and wiping it off with gauze. We got to the main intersection where our cars were, and then there was still like 1,000 people left on the streets, maybe crowded around that area. That's when we were like, okay, well, that's cool. We'll see. Just talk to some more people here and everything, see what we can do, make sure everybody's okay. And immediately those triple burst freaking CS things they have, or boom, boom, boom goes off, right next to the road, because everybody's trying to walk away, and they're getting them in the middle of alleyways. You just see going off in the alleyways because people are in them, and they're going and clearing them out like rats, basically, is what they think, in their mindset, which at that point, I just donned my gas mask, threw it on, and I was like, get the unarmed people in here by the backside of the cars so they can move if we have to, get the vehicles unlocked. I'm standing in the middle of the road when all this happens, and somebody just came up to me, and a few of them did even, and they're like, holy shit. They're like, are you actually gonna fight? Like, it's like they almost didn't, like we were there for show with with rifles loaded in condition,
they couldn't imagine.
In condition 1,
they couldn't imagine.
Our guys are highly trained. Our rifles are in condition 1. We flick off the safety, it's ready to go.
Yeah.
We go like real. And we have med kits too that we were using on people.
It was real enough for me on Sunday.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how you have to do when it gets to this point. But and they were like, you're actually going to fight? And I'm like, yes, if the police start shooting live rounds, we are game on. It's war if they want that, And they're like, and they just looking almost in disbelief, like someone would actually fight back against people that the whole protest over in the first case is killing people slowly, while they're handcuffed, torturing them to death. All that happens every day now. And they're like, somebody would actually fight. And it's like, yes, this is... we are willing to do that. And they're like, here, they had these like FTP stickers, and they slapping them on
Marking
us
you
to mark us. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're with us. You're with us.
Yeah, no, they were slapping stickers. They were like, here, mark yourselves, you
Great.
know, and then
All right, excellent. So if anybody wants to paint you guys as radical right-wing racists, we're just going to get the protesters on the phone that have already given you the sticker of approval and let them know. We're going to let everybody know.
Like I said, we don't even believe in forced taxation, so we can't be. You can't put me with any. I can't be a Nazi or a commie, most definitely.
Right.
That is the exact opposite of me.
So let's get back to then. Right before the second raid, you're being followed home. You get on the phone with these other guys that you took out to the demonstrations this weekend with you.
Yes.
Several of them in the area, and you're like, hey, converge, or hey.
They're on me, get to my freaking coordinates, you know. Everybody knows different coordinates. We have all, you know, we have undisclosed areas to train in. We have many disclosed areas, you know, all of that. So it's kind of the way you got to do things.
Right. So you put out the call. They rally up. You've got how many guys at that point?
Let's see. I don't think they got in right when the police were leaving, so they were on the outside of their barricades, just watching them, waiting to go on there. Yeah, well, because, you know, basically how it is, they always try to set up. They barricaded the road on Hazel Hill.
Oh, I
had like
understand.
10 vehicles.
From
to
watching
keep people from coming in to help. Yeah.
From watching the footage, because again, on your YouTube channel, if people want to find your YouTube
all
channel,
you
what
see
do they
is
need to
what's
search?
here. Just my name, Christopher Ledbetter.
Christopher Ledbetter. You can see, I was under the impression actually that you had some support with you inside that perimeter. So it was just you
and my stepdad. Yep.
and your stepdad during the second raid.
Yeah, I mean, there's some
perimeter.
friendlies in the houses around us, but most of them
But
still
no-
in the immediate area are kind of pansies. They just
no
stay out of it.
support, no friendlies.
Like
So-
the other guy basically kept them from. They were walking through his property, and he told us about it later. But he was trying to contact us, and I'm like, I can't get you called. I'm like, you need to get a radio. You need to get serious. Most of these people are just normal people, like good old country boys.
Not operators.
I got my shotgun in case a thug goes inside my house, and it's like, okay, you know, that's not this.
Yeah.
You know, but
So you and your stepdad, and about how many? There's McLeod. At that point, there's McLoud PD, and we know that the Kickapoo police are there as well, right?
yeah.
Okay, and were they just monitoring, or were they a part of the?
No, they were, as you can see from the videos, they had him call me, like trying to negotiate with me, this other guy, and they're like, just come down the road and talk to us unarmed. They asked me 3 times. They said, they have like 10 vehicles down here. They're like, when the sheriff gets here, we'll come up the road and pick you up and come down and talk to us. And I'm like, can you tell these people, this other guy, I gave him evidence of this stuff before because he was willing to talk to me. And I'm like,
The Kickapoo police
not
officer.
Kickapoo, he's an actual county.
Okay.
He was with Potawatomi County, which
Okay.
is also out of that jurisdiction, but he was there when the call was. So, you know, so it's like it crosses over so much. He was there out of jurisdiction too.
Right.
But he's, you know, a guy that works on my case a lot. You know,
Yeah.
one of the task force basically they built to, you know,
On
build
speed
case
dial.
on me.
Yeah.
And because he immediately called me and he's like, and I'm like, oh, hi, you know. And he was upset that I posted the video up after that. I'm like, are you serious, bro? I'm like, and I'm like, first off, you're taking me thinking that I don't know you're on a task force to try to build a case on me for mental instability or whatever they want because they can't find anything on me. I'm just a nice person that wanted to be left alone.
Yeah.
And he's like calling me and he's like, hey, come down the road with us, man. We'll talk this out. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be armed. I'll come down. And he's like, oh my gosh, no, you can't come armed and everything. I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, they just tried to do a snatch and grab on me illegally, and we just proved that it was illegal. So I was like, you think I'm stupid, you know?
So your guys were there. They got there after the police action was finishing up.
We had people there.
Okay.
Just not on my scene, you know. We move in court.
Right.
We do have radios, and we move in coordinated movements, and they set up their barricades. We can draw them off of us to their barricades.
That's what I just didn't know. I didn't
Flanking
understand
movements, all of that stuff.
I was trying to get an idea of like how what the interaction level with the situation between you guys and it was. Your guys had time to get there and set up.
Yeah,
like, you guys were operating.
We have
in
a
the
lot
area
more
by the time
people in
it
the
was.
city areas, which it takes them time to get to places, but they still get there faster than most police dispatch. Type of deal. So.
Right. Okay, so and that standoff lasts for a good while that night, right?
1 or 2 a.m. and I didn't even realize it because I pulled into the gas station at probably like 8:30, 9 o'clock, getting off. I stayed up in the city a while after work, I guess, and I was just pulling in there to fuel up and drive. You know, it was just getting dark, just after dark. And then I checked the time after all this, and I was like, holy hell, it's like 1, 2 a.m., whatever. And I had, a full squad of people there with me that were, all converged at that point because they had left. And we're like...
So by that 2 a.m. mark or so,
yeah,
the McLoud PD had left.
And it was instant. They were trying to get me to come down this whole time, and I was like, just come up here and do your job and talk to me. Why would you, it's immediately when I got out of my car, it's like, if this is a criminal charge, you have to keep chasing that suspect. If I was a danger enough to have to chase in the first place, when I hop out of my truck with an AK and I'm like, what do you want?
Yeah.
And they immediately, don't even get out of the car, start backing down. And I'm like, you're willing to kill someone for not wearing a seatbelt if they deny even a charge on it. But when when you have to get a paper cut for it, suddenly it becomes trivial again, and you don't want to mess with it.
Right.
You don't want to do your job anymore.
So what was it that prompted them to end that raid that night? Just they decided they weren't going to get you to come
Basically,
down the
I
road?
proved on the video that they were straight up lying, and I told them, hey, arrest that guy. I was on the phone with them. I was like, here, look, you can see it all the way. So all of them saw it.
You published the video.
I backed the truck up to where the whole barricade that was down the road could see me flashing both my brake lights and both blinkers. So that even the guy on the phone, so that all of them wouldn't be lied to and they would all know. Because I know they lie to each other, just like that guy just lied and made up a lie. And then I'm like, look, and I'm like, arrest that man. I'm like, you won't. And then that's when they said, okay, we're leaving for the night, goodbye. Just out of nowhere, after they were trying so hard to get me to come down and talk to them.
Yeah.
But they won't ever come talk to me.
So the video you're talking about, is that, you're talking about their video or your video? What video was it?
They've never released a video.
Right. So when you say, oh, okay, I see what you're saying. On your video, we can see you doing that.
Yeah, that's all my helmet cam.
You
can see both of the... I proved it on... Just like I got them on speakerphone, and they were upset because they're like, you posted a video of us talking to you on speakerphone? And I'm like, yeah, they're so afraid, like I've done something to them in the first place. I'm like, I was talking to you, offering you the evidence on this pedophile stuff, bro, and he was just still trying to get to know me for 30 minutes before he's like, oh yeah, my wife and all that. And I'm like, I'm not saying you're a bad guy, man. I'm like, I don't want to talk to you about our life and get my stress out. I'm like, I'm giving you evidence on this stuff. Take it or leave it.
Yeah.
And he kept trying to avoid that because they try to get to know you and everything. Then he's the first guy to call me. And they're like, hey, buddy, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to be an asshole to you, but you take my kindness for weakness. And they think that I'm stupid as well, a stupid redneck. And they very underestimate.
A lot of these police departments are like Keystone Cops. They are really not very proficient as far as law enforcement.
It's the same thing with News 9 when they denied it first because the first raid, they asked me, are you afraid of being hit with domestic terrorism charges and anything? When I was telling them about the child stuff on there, and they're like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, pedophilia stuff. And then they're like, are you afraid of getting hit with domestic terrorism charges or threatening anyone? And I'm like... Because I'm sitting there, kind of like this in dirty work clothes doing a video interview with the lady from OU, all of these people with degrees and everything, and I straight up listed the definition of terrorism for them on air. And I said, the only people committing terrorism are them, not me. And then they were just like, oh, okay. They couldn't even clip it. What
interview was this?
This was with News 9 the first time. They did contact me and interviewed me. They wouldn't air it. They told them that their bosses wouldn't let them because they said that the police would not get back to them. And I'm like, they're never going to get back to you.
Right. Okay, so that's never been aired.
No, they came, and she called me after, well, I'm not going to divulge her information, because she did it actually out of the kindness of her heart.
Right, yeah.
She was like,
that's what I was telling you,
hey, I care.
We don't have to get too specific.
Yeah, she called me. I'm not saying her name, but she called me, and she said, this was after I was raided, because I wouldn't call in any of them. I already felt like they screwed me off.
Yeah.
And I was kind of even upset when she called me, because it's like after the night of being awake all night again, and them trying to come onto my property again, walking through woods yet again on personal people's property, like they're Navy SEALs or something. And I was like, hey, well, I don't really care if y'all are just in this to get money or whatever it's about. And she's like, it's not about money. Obviously, we didn't make any because they didn't run it. She's like, it's like, you got to understand, I have bosses too, and they won't let me do a lot of that stuff, and we got to try to work with it. And I was like, well, here's all of this. And she's like, okay, well, we'll keep it in case anything happens. But what they're saying is that they don't want to escalate the situation by putting the truth out there.
Right.
They said that it would escalate the situation by showing the truth about the police officers.
By doing their job as the media.
Basically, admitting that it would piss the police off if they got caught in their crimes and escalate it to try to hurt me more. But they're like, we'll keep the evidence in case they do kill you, so then we can release it.
But even in that case,
which not on her, she did a good thing, but
that's not their job as the media to make that distinction.
It's the media over.
Their job is to publish the truth. Their job is to inform the public. So it really doesn't matter. It's not about the unintended consequences and what their estimation of those will be. It's about the responsibility.
Just like them trying to play it for domestic terrorism, and then I was too intelligent for them, and they didn't expect that.
Right.
And they're like, oh, let's not run this one.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'll tell you what, Chris. So after that, after the second raid, and we'll wrap up on this because this is what a lot of people have seen on social media and stuff. I guess you and your guys went down to the McLoud Police Department to in person file complaints about all of this stuff and make it all official. Is that what you guys were down there for?
Yeah, basically to let we know that you have to do everything through paperwork now, but we're just basically going there to show them, hey, we're coming to talk to you. We're not hiding in a hole still. All of these people are upset about it. All of these people know,
Yeah.
And we just came to say, hey, and we'd noticed that there was some other weird stuff going on after that, and just everything went quiet, and it's like, well, of course, they're pulling over other people still for weird stuff. Like they pulled over a lady that lived by us, and they're like, do you know your tag expires in a month and a half? It's like they illegally pull people over all the time and mess with them. I see them do it all. It's like they don't mess with me hardly any at all anymore unless they're just trying to get an execution on me. It's like, because they're afraid. Even though they have nothing to be afraid of if they weren't doing something wrong.
Well, now, and apparently there was quite a few people that had something to say to the police department because they took to the McLoud Police Department Facebook page, which has since then been taken down because they were being inundated with complaints and issues from different citizens.
Also illegal, yeah, very highly illegal. Suppression of your First Amendment rights and tampering with evidence.
Because that page is it's an asset.
Because it is the actual McLoud Police Department.
Or was.
Or what? Yeah.
Was the McLoud Police Department.
Now they have like an association up that I didn't know exists. But yeah, they have a McLoud Police Association page now.
Yeah, exactly. But to that end, you guys went down to the station. Mm-hmm. The lobby was empty. The doors were unlocked, though.
The side one was. The front one was still locked because there's a sign on the door that said, the police station lobby is closed. I mean, and you can read it on the video, but I'm pretty sure that's the exact words. It doesn't say anything about coronavirus.
But the side door's open.
Yeah. Yeah, their side door
door's unlocked.
Yeah, it was unlocked.
And when you watch the video, the side door and the front door are like maybe 20 yards or 20 feet away from each other around a corner.
Yeah,
right?
It's just right on the
corner. Yeah, you walk right around the corner, and it's... So you guys went down there. You wound up in the lobby. You even called?
Yeah, I called 911 before that and said, hey... we're here, and I was like, I'm at McLoud Police Department. I'm here to file a report, to file a list of grievances with you. I want to, because the chief himself said I'm such a good guy the first time after it happened and invited my mother over, and he's like, here, I want to talk this out. I take responsibility over my officers. No one's came to it about this because they know they just made it so much worse for themselves. They were trying to get me, and they didn't get me, and now after not getting me again, they know that it just got so much worse, so they're just like, they know there's no going back in damage control now. He didn't reach out to my mom now and say, I'm a good old boy, I take care of my officers, come in and talk to me about it. No one came to us at all. So we went to them and we're like, we're coming to file a list of grievances, whether it's official or not on paper. We're coming to tell you that you have violated rights under color of law, which is treason, punishable by death still by their own paper laws, but no one enforces it.
Yeah. Well, and the optics are, they'll shock some people. For some of us, it's what we appreciate and want to see. Some of us want to see our citizens able to carry our guns in our government buildings, in our state buildings, in our taxpayer-funded buildings. But anyways, you and your troop were there in full...
Well, that's how easy you do it. If they make a law that is unjust, that is terrorism in definition, it is your duty to resist peacefully. Look at what we did. We can carry weapons inside of government buildings. Mm-hmm.
They were all
no one was hurt, no one was killed.
Yep.
The only thing that happened? I became an equal human being, just like we're being all the time. And
Now-
that is worth our life. If
Now,
they
you
wanna
guys
come
were
kill us.
there and made it known that you were in the lobby of the police
Yeah, we
department.
called 911 and told them. They said they were sending an officer, that they're on their way, and we waited there for an hour.
On video.
Yeah, it's all on
With
video.
the video rolling. Yep.
Well, I put it on speakerphone so that you can hear the dispatch saying everything.
Yes.
Just
And
like
the
I
cameras,
did.
we were talking about this a little bit before we started
It works
recording.
very well with proof.
The cameras are even scarier to these people than the guns.
That's why after this happened as well here recently, this last week, they put out a warning order which was issued with Police Chief Wes Elliott's body cam picture of me after the first night we were raided, and all this other, and my vehicles and both of their tag numbers, and pictures they'd ripped off of me, and it was Oklahoma City Police Department Criminal Investigations Unit, basically their gang task force, a warning order. And I posted that up for everybody too, reading the whole thing. And yeah, a key element of that was he has threatened to defend himself. Threatened, they always start with threaten and then they say defend. Yes, a fact, I have threatened
Yes,
to defend myself, and I will always threaten to defend myself. That's not a threat. I'm saying, I promise you I will defend myself.
Yeah.
But the main key element in there too was all of this stuff about me that's like, yeah, okay. They said he has cameras attached to his equipment. Beware, extremely dangerous. No crimes listed, but they can put out warning orders for you and flag you now
Right.
to have all units come to you. So it's because they can't put out a warrant, they try to do it where you don't even know.
Yeah. It's red flag laws.
And some police officer leaked that because that was for police eyes only.
Really?
Yes.
There are some good ones. There are some good ones that recognize.
Even if they're not totally good, they know that this is
scary to
like
them too.
like even I told the guy that's trying to get me to come down there, he was trying to get me arrested. Even him, I was like, "Are you human being at all, bro?" Basically, when I was talking to him before, I was like, "Do you agree that this stuff with the kids is a little freaky? That maybe somebody should try to even look into it a little bit more?
Yeah.
Maybe if this isn't even that much, if that's what they're doing out in the open, competitively, and people are scared to even say anything about it, maybe you should look into it." And they're like, I've had a few of them like, yeah, that's creepy, Behind, they won't say it in front of any of their leadership, but
Yeah.
when they're actually talking to you in person, they're like, yeah, that's horrible. And I'm like, you're a good person, but you're a coward because you won't do anything about it.
Yeah.
I'm the only one doing anything about it without tax dollars.
Yeah.
Not me. I wouldn't have been able to do it. These other people that you don't see, because they haven't been forced to be public yet, there's many of them.
Yeah.
And they have the same courage that I do. I guarantee it. And it gives me a reason to live. Like, you may not believe how many of them are out there, but there are some hard people that are willing to die for this stuff. And they have risked that already.
It's gratifying to be the point of,
Yes.
of the spear sometimes, isn't it?
The stuff that the guys do that I've worked with, and gals now, it is highly, highly motivating, to say the least. Yes.
All right.
It makes you, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, Chris. We're going to wrap it up now. Then I think that's probably enough for anyone to chew on, and we're going to keep chasing this. We want to know what's happening with it, and we're going to try to get this
Another hours long of footage.
Yeah,
there.
we're going to try to get this thing above that. Like I said, that film on the bottom of corporate media.
More people are starting to figure out.
Yeah, pay attention. And there are people starting to ask what in the world exactly is happening out in McLoud PD.
Finally.
Why are so many of them fired? Why is there a listing for so many officers?
And they're saying that they haven't even been under investigation when they're offering to hire 9 officers and all this other weird stuff. And they didn't even say anything about the police officers at the school. They've noticed when he made the statement back about that, they just didn't even mention the school officers. He's just like, "Oh, I'm not under investigation." Like, didn't say anything about the police in the school, because he's like, he knows that you can't prove if DHS or anybody's investigating you.
Well,
you can't prove that unless you have clearances, and then they wouldn't know. So he's
I have two things that you watching this as our audience, as people who are new to this story, can do to help you legitimize your curiosity in this. First, go to Facebook as soon as you're done watching this and search for McLoud Police Department.
Recent one.
And you will not find their Facebook page. You will find McLoud Fire Department, and you'll find police department pages for all the other police departments labeled such and such police department, but you won't find that for the McLoud Police Department.
Yeah, he changed his personal cell phone number too as well.
Okay.
The chief did, yeah.
So, so I would say that that's probably the first thing that I would challenge everyone to do to get an idea on how real this is. Second, I would beg the question: how many police departments are shut down right now? In other words, how many lobbies are closed for police departments thanks to COVID-19? What they're justifying closing their police department for, their lobby for, how many other police departments of similar even demographic or in the same area, how many of them are closed for COVID? Because if none of them are, then quite obviously there's a good chance that McLoud PD is probably not closed due to COVID-19.
You know, there's a picture of the chief from yesterday now, or today. It was actually today, putting out a big open banner outside in the parking lot now that says open. You know, like a banner you see on a business, not a police station. They actually, so they're trying that hard. They put up a big open banner outside.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's
like, what is it? You know,
fantastic.
even though the sign on the thing says we're closed and it doesn't even say COVID on it, but that's what he gave as the excuse.
Right. So that's, like I said, those are the two things I would challenge you to do. Go figure out if you can find the McLoud Police Department Facebook page and see if you can find out how many other police departments are closed thanks to COVID-19, which is the excuse that we get for the McLoud Police Department being closed. And go find Chris's channel on YouTube, Christopher Ledbetter.
Yeah, that's it.
And you'll be able to find the videos of the initial encounter,
stuff.
the first raid, second raid, the whole shebang.
I still need to put, because they completely deleted my Facebook and Instagram, like IP banned me. So I know that was them after all this because I kept putting up more videos. But I do need to get the audio back up on there with her interviewing him. We've got them saved in so many places they can't delete them now.
Right.
You know, I got them across the country with people saved
Right.
in other places. But there used to be way more videos, but it still has the videos back to like a few of the initial raids, all kinds of stuff. Like there's still hours and hours of proof.
Yeah.
You know, proof of stuff that's
Yeah.
I'm the only one being public about anything, much less I'm being public about everything. I'm hiding nothing because I have nothing to hide. They are hiding everything. They haven't issued one thing but the statements afterwards saying the exact opposite when they're finally being pressed of what's the truth, and it's still being caught in lies.
Ultimately, because they've committed a lot of crimes.
Yeah, they're hiding everything. That's why they took the Facebook page down.
Chris, I appreciate you coming into the bunker, man. Like I said, we're going to stick with it. Again, you guys make sure you go to OklahomaTaxpayersUnite.com and go to our Patreon page, patreon.com/OTUmedia. There you can sign up to be a monthly subscriber for as little as $1 a month, but every dollar does help. I also want to remind you guys that June 30th is the primary for the Republican Party here in Oklahoma, and we're a one-party state. So if you control the Republican Party, you control the state of Oklahoma, your vote means an absolute lot whenever it comes to the primary, and the last day you can switch your registration to be able to do that is the 5th. So appreciate you guys. Stay with us, and we'll see you next week.
Yo, I knew this guy that owned a bakery in a part of town known for vagrancy. Basically, the place to sleep for lots of homeless folks with no way to escape the world's coldness. So this guy noticed over the years that he'd been there, more homeless appeared. It just kept getting worse, and so did his business. His customers cursed, yelling out, "What is this? A third world country?" Said it smelled funky. They made less visits, he made less money. They had no pity, just intensity towards the homeless that lived in tent cities. He spent many days deep in thought. Without the pay these people brought, he'd be distraught. The bakery had closed in weeks, and he'd have nothing to eat like those on the street. He knew they were just people, not evil. He knew he should treat them like equals, but he didn't want to close them fair. He sat and thought and watched as his loaves got stale. He saw his neighbors screaming obscenities at the folks that seemed like the enemies, and he'd shake his head. The choice that he made instead, he walked outside and gave them bread. I stay grateful for every plateful. Used to make dues, and now I make two and give one to you till your luck break through. get some great food. When you make choices, they also make you share the wealth beyond yourself and stay cool.